Welcome. Welcome, everyone, to the Dying Your Way podcast. It's so great to be here with you. My name is Claire O'Berry, and I'm the host of the Dying Your Way podcast. Um, in the last time I was with you, I spoke about some of the goals and intentions that I had for this season, and I really want to begin diving into just the whole journey of end of life well before anyone's in a terminal condition where they're actively dying. I want to start at the beginning today and act as if you can act as if I've acted as if um, you have been given a life-threatening diagnosis by your doctor, and it is shocking, overwhelming, confusing, and it takes a while to get over the initial shock of getting that diagnosis. I remember when both of my parents, I was with them, when essentially they were told, yes, you have Alzheimer's. And, my dad, that was my mother, and my dad, who died of metastatic prostate cancer, I was with him in his urologist office, and he had very high PSA numbers. I think it was up to 13 or something. And the urologist came in and he said, well, Henry, you had your prostate removed 20 years ago. So without saying it, that meant that now the prostate cancer had returned, but it had metastasized somewhere else. And when cancer is in a metastatic state, it's the latter stages of the disease. Neither doctor told my parents or told me what to expect, what next steps they would recommend. It was as if they were very uncomfortable themselves with giving the news that what you have is life-threatening. I mean, there's a really good chance that you could die of this diagnosis that I just gave you. So one of the things that I learned early on is that it's just really important to be in a place when you get bad news of any kind where you can think clearly and where you can make good decisions. So at the very beginning of the Dying Your Way end of life training, the first thing that we cover is giving you tools to do that, to make good decisions. And I'm going to go over two of those tools today. And the first one is mindfulness. Now, I know that all of you are familiar with that word. You may have heard of it in a wellness group or a yoga class or some kind of app that you do. But mindfulness is a great skill to have no matter what your health situation is. It's just a great skill to carry through life. So if I was going to give you a definition of mindfulness, it's the act of being fully present, aware of where you are and what you're feeling. So many people don't even know what they're feeling when they're feeling it. So it's the act of being fully present, aware of where we are, what we're feeling, without being overly reactive to that. And it sounds simple, but it's not easy. It's actually a skill that I encourage people to develop before the need is there. So it's really good for all of us individually at any time to start thinking about doing small steps to practice mindfulness. It's really great for caregivers because they develop skills to better communicate, to listen with elephant ears, to slow down enough to be in the moment of what is actually going on. it's also so good for professionals. I think too many professionals are so uncomfortable with their own feelings, their own fears around death and dying that they avoid it. But if professionals, not all, I mean, God, I know some great professionals that are just fantastic. But if more professionals practice mindfulness, they would be better doctors, they would be better clinicians, they would be better nurses, they would be better volunteers because they would be in the moment, they would be reading the room. That's another great definition. Mindfulness is just reading the room. Um, but it's just something that really is necessary and desired at the end of life for better outcomes to that. So, why does mindfulness matter? Well, it's going to give you clarity in the moment. It's going to help you stay present to what matters most. It's going to reduce regret for families and for caregivers. And I'll give you an example of that. My dad was staying with me, but he still had his home in Henrietta, so we're about an hour and a half drive away. And he has come down with a fever. He needs to go probably to the hospital, but he needs to go see the doctor. But he just wants to get himself home. Completely understandable. He asked me to walk him to the car so he could get in the car and he could drive home. And I'm complying. I'm walking him to the car and he could barely walk. And I took the keys away from him. And he said, he almost cried, "Oh, sweet, don't do me that way." And I said, "Daddy, you can't walk to the car. What makes you think you can drive yourself home?" And that was the moment, as many of us have, where we take the keys away from our parents. None of us want to do it, but being mindfully present of what's safe, what's not safe, helped me make that decision in the moment that my dad was not going to drive himself to his home in Henrietta. And we went to the next plan, which was me driving him to the hospital. But that's just an example of having the clarity in the moment to be able to make some really hard decisions. And I have no regret that I did that. It was the right thing to do. So it enhances communication. It enhances listening. It actually creates space for acceptance and surrender when it comes to that. Because most people who are mindfully aware of the end of life, just by the act of being mindful, start to prepare themselves. And part of that preparation is getting finally to a point of acceptance. And that's when people themselves sometimes can just surrender and be in the moment and do what matters most to them. It really supports you to make choices that are ethical and aligned with your values. One of the things I love about mindful people, they have high emotional intelligence, but they are also people that take responsibility for their choices. And if you haven't taken the time to really understand where you're coming from, what your core values are, it's really easy to get swept away in the moment by the emotion of other family members, perhaps, or other people's discomfort, and you're not making decisions that are right for you. So, knowing what our own core values are is very, very important. And I guess the best thing about being mindful is that it bridges the spiritual with the practical. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, for me, it could be being able to plan my funeral at the same time I'm living in some anxiety. It could be being able to revisit advanced care planning um, with a new light on about, does this match what my true final wishes are? So you'll be making very practical decisions throughout your journey. And you just want to be sure that they are your decisions and that you understand why you're making them. And then it's so much easier to communicate that with your family. It's a learned skill, it's a practice skill. So it's like you're not going to teach your kid to swim by throwing him in the deep end, you know? So I would recommend that you start with very small steps. And there's some very easy techniques to do this and apps to support it. But the easiest thing is to just connect with your own breath. And maybe you just start doing that, put a timer on your phone or something, and just do it a minute a day where you just stop and you breathe in deeply and you breathe out long. And you do a few cycles of that kind of breathing where you're not thinking about anything except breathing in deeply and breathing out long. And then over a period of time, you can expand that time, or maybe you can incorporate it while you're taking a walk in nature. Connecting the breath really clears the mind to be able to not get bogged down in a lot of outside noise. And I do recommend that you revisit whatever advanced care planning that you've done and look at it with through a new lens. Does it reflect what's going on for you now? Does it align with your values? Is this your decision? Is it someone else's decision? Are you taking responsibility for what these decisions are going to have? And just, it's going to be different for different people. But if you are doing your advanced care planning mindfully, it is, which we'll talk about later on, but I'm just saying it really makes a difference. Um, the best thing, there's a fly, something flying around. The best thing is to just start embracing small endings with a mindful attitude. That could be your kids leaving the nest, graduation, marriages. Those are transitions that in your life where things are going to change for you. Maybe it's a loss of a job or retirement. Those are transitions and changes in our life. Maybe it's moving from one state to another, from one country or another. It's important that you know why you're making these moves and take responsibility for the choices that you're making. So that's a good time to practice for our final journey, which is death. And to do that with these little small deaths first is a great way to start. So it's not going to be something that's going to happen overnight. You've got to start practicing it early, and I just encourage you to do that. It doesn't mean that you're not afraid. It doesn't mean that you're not anxious. It just means you're just calm. It just means you're aware and intentional about the choices that you make. Mindful, intentional, aware. So this is the greatest present that we can give ourselves and that we can give to others at the end of life. The second tool I just want to cover briefly is mind mapping. So we do this at length in the end of life training, the Dying Your Way end of life training. and we actually do it together as an exercise. But I love mind mapping because it really takes what's going on inside your head and you brain dump everything, no matter how big or how small, onto a piece of paper. And after you just brain dump what's in your head, then you can look at that list and you can start prioritizing that list. And then you can, once it's prioritized, you have decisions to make, and the decisions are really simpler than you might think. So if it's a priority, what's the first step you want to take? And you just put that central question in there. And if you just focus mindfully on that question, you'll find a lot of other variables come to mind that have to do with that core question. And little by little, you can start taking action on something that's a priority for you. You can go back and look at your list and just say, does this have to happen right now? I need to communicate with my family that I have this diagnosis, but do I need to do it now? Is that better? Or do I do it, before my advanced care planning? Do I do it before I do funeral planning? I mean, your situation is going to be different from everybody else, but you prioritize what is good, and look at that list and see if there are things that you can delay because you've prioritized it, or defer or delegate to someone else. Who in your circle of friends might be a great fiduciary type person? Maybe you have someone in your circle that's a lawyer that you can hand over some of these things to. It'll be different for different people, but if there are people that are really good at deep cleaning a house, that may not be you right now. So maybe you hire someone to do space clearing or a deep cleaning of your house. Those are things you might delegate to other people. Then my favorite is just delete. Again, you kind of become aware about what are your core values, what's important, and you may see that, why did I hang on to this for so long? It's just not relevant to my life anymore. And you can just cheerfully, easily set it aside and just delete it from your list. And when you're mind mapping, you're actually getting a visual of what it is that is going on personally for you. So I really recommend mind mapping. I recommend in the training, take the training if you're able to, because you really will do the exercise together. And it's very beneficial. And you can, again, you don't have to be dying to do mind mapping. This is another skill that you can develop. And there are other tools that help with this. One of the things that I love is the Eisenhower matrix. You may be familiar with that. Some people need to do flow charts so they see a linear version of, I'm going to do this, then this, then this, then this. It's just a linear thing. It's going to be different for different people. The simplest thing is just start getting Post-its, writing these ideas down on Post-it and stick it up on your wall. I actually have a portion of my wall that's, erasable like a whiteboard. And I just do my to-do list up there and, just that's how I can prioritize things. But I also talk about the importance of low-tech tools like a spiral notebook. Just always having a spiral notebook, or now you have notes in your phone. Just really keep what's in your head out of your head by writing it down somewhere where you will functionally use it. So those are my ideas, is doing mindfulness and mind mapping. And I hope this is useful for you. Take what you like, leave the rest. These are just ideas. But the main thing is I want to stress how important it is at the end of life to have a quality end of life, is that you are aware of what your core values are, that you are getting prepared by crossing off this to-do list, and that you get the support that you need. And you need to be the one driving these decisions for as long as you have capacity, for as long as you can. And that's what's so glorious about, the end of life, when people are empowered, is they don't give up control at any point until the very end. And yeah, so we want to do it while we have capacity to start making these changes and growing ourselves and applying it to our life right now. So I hope that's useful. Um, if you find this meaningful, please share it with someone that is going through stuff right now. I think that really might prompt them to just start thinking of solutions for themselves. So like it, share it, comment about it. Happy to get your feedback. And yeah, just check out the training page on dyingyourway.com. I mean, there's a lot of good information there, and we'll put the link for that in the show notes below. So in the meantime, just hug yourself really close. Just be proud of the work that you're doing now. And I'm just encouraging everybody to be intentional with your life, be kind with your life, be kind to yourself, be kind to others. It's what a difference we can make to the world if we're just all kind to each other, right? This is Dying Your Way. I'm Claire O'Berry, and thank you so much for joining us. Bye.